All right, welcome back to the showcast, and time for a guest this week. Our guest on the showcast this week is a writer. She's a producer, an actress, a comedian who you might know from her extensive run on the show Mad TV, but now you can see her every week alongside Billy Crystal and Josh Gad on the new FX show, The Comedians. Please welcome Stephnie Weir. Stephnie, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
How you doing? Are you calling us from West Coast right now?
Yes, I am. I'm calling you from Pasadena.
Oh, nice. How's the weather out there today?
You know, it's like 68 degrees. It's a little overcast. It's absolutely delightful because it's usually pretty toasty. Where are you guys?
We're right outside of Philadelphia, and I should learn to know better to ask that question on days like we're having today, because we're having some miserable weather today. Nothing but rain and wind and tornado warnings and.
It's 68 degrees, though.
Yeah, that's true. We got the temps.
I'm not going to get any sympathy that it's a little overcast and I had to wear a vest today.
Oh, wow. So, we're starting to build a great relationship with FX. We've talked to a number of people from their shows and such. We're about 3 episodes into The Comedians as of now. And not everyone has had an opportunity to check it out just yet. I myself have seen the first 2 episodes. I know Steve has as well. But for those of our listeners who haven't had a chance to watch it yet, tell us a little bit about the show and your character on the show.
It's a show, Billy, Crystal, and Josh Gad play themselves. And they've kind of been thrown together by the FX network to put on a sketch show. Billy Crystal wants to get back into sketch, but he's not relevant enough on his own, and so they throw this young comedian at him. And it's kind of a behind-the-scenes show of those two trying to get their sketch show on the right track and actually to be picked up by FX and on the air. So it's kind of got a behind-the-scenes feel to it, a very documentary-style show. I play a producer who's pretty incompetent and is, just holding things together by a thread, and she's often kind of the buck stops with her when problems happen. She gets left holding the bag and is just trying to gracefully handle that. But a lot of improv in this show. It's, even though it is scripted for the most part. And yeah, I mean, that kind of lays groundwork down there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and, you got kind of hinted at it, but the show does it's awkward at times, but it's certainly on purpose to get laughs that way. It's that kind of comedy. And your character, Kristen, might be the most awkward of all of them, to say the least. How do you, get into that mindset, I guess, heading into the show, and, do you enjoy playing that type of role?
I really enjoy playing that type of role. Sadly, it's not a far cry from, my own personality trait. I wish I could say it was just really good method acting, but I have a lot of experience with awkward. So I've really kind of called on that to play this character. And, incompetence and, kind of being flustered and low man on the totem pole is a great gift to be given as a comedian, It's so much fun to play the underdog, so it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah, now you're going to have to give us one of those stories where you don't have to act to be in the awkward situations, right?
Oh, yes, my God. Let's see, where can I start? Okay, here's what, it's kind of showbiz related, but when I was in Chicago, my agent said, you know how to ice skate? And I said, yes, I know how to ice skate. Absolutely. What's this about? And she's like, well, it's an audition, it's for a commercial, and you have to, skate on ice, and I think you have to hold a chainsaw at some point. And I was like, yes, absolutely, count me in. And so I show up to the ice skating audition, and over the weekend I found a pair of tights and maybe it's kind of a little skirty kind of thing. But anyway, it's me and probably 10 Olympic ice skaters. Out on the ice, And anyway, the director gets there and is watching us all warm up. And I mean, I'm just a nuisance. People are almost running into me. I can barely turn, while I'm standing. And finally, he kind of makes an announcement, and I'm really, I'm in it. I'm in it to win it. He says, okay, if you can't skate and, spin around twice, let's just have you go ahead and leave the ice. And everybody just looked at me. And I was so person, but I was like, as long as you, walk the walk, who's going to notice? So anyway, terribly awkward. And, that's just one instance of trying to pretend like you know what you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, I know it, to a degree, it has a little bit of an office kind of feel, where they're talking to the camera every once in a while and such. And,
sure.
And some of the moments that you have had so far on the show where you're talking to the camera are so awkward that they are just laugh out loud funny.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.
And I know the show itself, you had mentioned, it's Billy Crystal playing himself and Josh Gad playing himself. The show puts together these two people who, they're funny in their own right by themselves, and they're two people you wouldn't necessarily have ever imagined pairing them up together. But when you do, and obviously it shows in the show that it tends to click. I mean, there's moments where it's very awkward, and then it can shift to kind of sincere, and then all of a sudden in a second it just shifts right back to awkward again. And I have to imagine that it's working with those guys on the set every day. It's got to be something you look forward to.
So much, and one of those, moments that when it all kind of came together and it looked like I was going to get this part, and you kind of, realize, like, oh gosh, like and that's the great thing about Hollywood. The weird thing about it is you never know what's going to land in your lap. And it was very dreamy to kind of wake up and be like, oh, wow, I get to go work with Billy Crystal and Josh Gad today on this, really fun show. So, yeah, it is pretty awesome. And something about their dynamic, it's like you're right. You don't, and you wouldn't necessarily put them together. And the chemistry is there, and then it's not. And then it's there, and then it's not, which is kind of true to why these two have been chosen. It's not an obvious fit. And it kind of, they have their ups and downs, and I think that's hopefully what's making it a good story is you don't know if this is actually going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned in the beginning when describing the show that it's a mockumentary of a sketch comedy, essentially. And you happen to have gained a lot of notoriety yourself for a little sketch comedy show called Mad TV. Have you been able to take those series at all and use them in the comedians?
I've used it in the capacity that we had line producers and other producers at Mad TV who, who were who were out in the wings and having, and so it's true to the world that I was used to in that. I'm just playing a different role in it, and they kind of had to be the heavies and the uncreative types and a bit of the downers that come in and say, hey, we can't afford to do this sketch, or deliver bad news. And in that capacity, my Mad TV experience has definitely helped. It's also been kind of, I love sketch, and I feel like there's a lot of really funny sketches that we plugged into the show, that they plugged into the show, and I appreciate that they're funny sketches because I know how hard that is to do. Me personally, I'm not in any of the sketches, so which is also true to my character. Like I think she probably wants to be a sketch comedian but has zero talent, and so that's a fun energy to play, where I think in the back of her mind, if somebody said, hey, an actress just dropped out, who could we use? Maybe Kristen, she would totally step up, So in that capacity, yeah, I have drawn on my experience in the TV.
Awesome. Through the show, you just kind of touched base on this a little bit too. Through the show, you get to see a little bit of the inner workings as to what it takes to put together a sketch comedy show. And as Steve said, you definitely have experience with that with Mad TV. And obviously the show is, a bit of a satire and a mockumentary, and it tends to embellish and exaggerate quite a bit for comedic effect. But I still have to imagine that many of the points that you guys touch upon still ring true, like writers getting sketches on and things like that. How would you say what we see in the show compares to what actually happens behind the scenes of a sketch comedy show?
They're obviously you can't go as in depth because we're visiting different parts of like their personal life, and then a little bit of the writer's room, and then a little bit of the live sketch show. But it is true to form. There's a lot of jockeying when it comes to getting your sketch on the air, and a lot of ego involved. What one person thinks is funny, another group does not, and there's no right or wrong about that. It's totally, all subjective to whoever has, it's the most powerful kind of wins, and you see a little bit of that. So I would say it really does nail it to a great extent, I think. Yeah. Did I answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's fine.
Yeah, it's good to see that.
I just talk. Yeah.
Eventually, the right answer comes out.
Eventually I'll come around.
Stepping outside the show and into the research portion a little bit, you've also had a lot of success in writing and producing shows, not only for Mad TV, but also for network sitcoms, like Raising Hope was really successful, and The Millers recently. Are there any projects on the horizon that we can look forward to from Stephnie Weir?
Nothing solid enough to dangle out there, even for myself. I have a few ideas that I'm working on my own that are, I love the multi-camera format, in front of a live audience. It's not the most popular style of comedy right now, but it has a real soft spot for me, and I hope at some point in my career to work again in that capacity and maybe be in a multi-cam. I just like the format of that show. I think Cheers and even Everybody Loves Raymond and those shows have
Sure.
I just feel like you can tune into them at any point and it fills a void. You can kind of space out for a minute, enjoy that kind of comedy, and I'd love to be part of something like that again. There are a few shows that I've been asked to possibly join as far as writing on them, and hopefully those will pan out. But again, all too soon to kind of talk about.
Okay.
Yeah.
I gotta say too, Steve had just mentioned it, that you were a writer on Raising Hope. I was such a huge fan of that show. I was so disappointed when it got, when the show ended, but I watched that show religiously every week. I was such a big fan of that show.
Oh, well, thank you. I came on, I was only on for one season and was just asked, I didn't have any hand in creating it or any in the ground level. I feel like I need to be very fair with that. Greg Garcia had asked me if I would join the writing staff, and I did, and he also created The Millers, and I went on to help write with that, and those are kind of his babies and brainchild. But it was a blast. He's a terrific guy and so talented, and it was a blast to work on both of those shows. So I think I'm glad you enjoyed them.
Yeah. I know we're gonna get ready to wrap things up with you, but in our research, I did notice one thing online about you, and you know how sometimes you take the things you read online with a grain of salt. So I figured I'd just ask. I saw one of the first things you had ever done. Were you on an episode of Unsolved Mysteries?
Yes, I was. I've been looking for that episode for such a long time. Okay, so here's the backstory, which is so interesting. My first husband, I've had more than one. My first husband and I were kind of living in a van for the summer, and I stopped into my hometown, and they were shooting this episode of Unsolved Mysteries in my hometown, and my dad, who, can sniff out an opportunity, was like, Sugar, you got to audition for this. We all got to audition. We got to get in on this. And so, I had no credits. I'd never done anything for television. I'd just done some, stage acting with, in college or whatever. And, my first husband plays the killer in it. So yes, I was in an Unsolved Mysteries episode, and my brother was kind enough to notice that I looked directly into the camera when I did it. So he sent me a tape once of just me, almost like a meme, and this was before memes were even popular, but it was me looking up into the camera about 100 times. And along with the tape, he said, don't quit your day job. So, sorry.
No, I was just going to say we'll put the word out to our listeners, and if in their the way they work online, if anybody can find it, we'll tweet it out to you so that we can so that you can get it.
Thank you. That was so good. It's called The Burning Businessman because somebody dumped a businessman in a dumpster and set him on fire and then stole his pickup truck. So
that is mysterious.
There you go. Yeah.
So
I played the lady who did the murderer's laundry. He asked if I was washing bloody clothes, and no questions asked. I said, sure.
Well, you were married to the guy at the time in real life, so.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, we'll if we can find it, we'll definitely tweet it out to you so that you can get a copy of it. And we're gonna let our listeners know that we want them to follow you on Twitter as well at Stephnie Weir, STEPHNIE. And I want to make.
Right. No A. And I have to be really honest. They can follow me. I really don't tweet. My excuse is that I'm still learning how to, get my presence on the CB radio. And so I'm really good at that, then I'll move on to tweeting.
All right. Well, we'll find a way to get it to you if we find it.
Okay.
So.
That's right. Great.
But also we want to encourage everybody to check out the Comedians every Thursday night, 10 p.m. on FX. And they can follow the Comedians on Twitter as well, which is at the Comedians. So, Steph, thanks a lot. This has been great.
Thank you guys so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Good luck with everything in the future and good luck on the Comedians.
Thanks so much. You too.
All right, guys, we are going to take another break. We will be back in just a bit. Hang tight.